me if I am too quiet for them.
I mean, you're always too quiet.
Wow.
It's the reality of this.
Oh.
Okay. Got the streaming up and running. Can you pop us open and make sure the mic sounds good? Or, at least sounds.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. I'll hit the start record. I know the madness of it all.
You gotta go do a ping.
Oh. I thought you usually do that.
Do I do a ping?
Yeah.
Oh, I do.
I sit here and just speak for the next hour. You're the one who goes and informs people.
Okay, I need to hit start event and then do the K-Pack ping. Ah.
Done forgetting all the roles today.
Oh.
Hello all. Welcome to our last podcast of 2022. We did alright this year and doing that whole, we're going to try and do this once a month. We did about 8. That's pretty good. Considering, us.
Most of them were impromptu, though.
They weren't impromptu. We planned them like
Faction Brawl.
Faction Brawl was impromptu because of a thing that happened. But most of them were planned.
This one.
This one's not impromptu. I planned it at the beginning of the week. / tried to do it before Christmas.
Impromptu.
Not impromptu.
Absolutely.
Definitely not. Alrighty. So, welcome to Tokotas podcast, December 31st, 2022. We have much going on. Okay, where do we start? Oh my gosh. Alright, I have my agenda. I found my agenda. So, we're going to start with some fun news.
Chat is on point today.
I can see them. Because I'm not doing a full PowerPoint screen share this time, I can actually see chat as it's happening. Last time we did this, it was the main rebalance. I had to do a PowerPoint. I couldn't see what you guys were saying. It was very weird.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
So first thing we're going to talk about is we said we were going to do this in June, and we did do it. We've got around to it, and they're being posted. We have made page dolls for everybody. Let me get the screen.
Was it June or July? When is Art Fight?
June,
July.
I thought.
I think it's July. It comes after Toko anniversary.
I guess my real question on that is, does it matter?
Only to my pedantic self.
Yeah, because that's something you want to advertise. But here we go. We have done these page dolls. Fleeting Stability did the art for them. And we have these up on a reference you can use. We have them for all of the currently available builds. They did lots of little cute main updates as well for everything. And the way that these page dolls work is we don't allow you to post your imports anywhere. Not on Toy House, not on Art Fight, not on Facebook, not on Twitter, not on anywhere. You cannot post your imports because, why would you want to post on Twitter right now anyway? But that's not the point. You can't post them anywhere because that makes it difficult for us to maintain our copyright and to ensure ownership stays the way it's supposed to be. We've had plenty of these situations where somebody posts their import on Toy House and then starts selling the import, and somebody comes to us 6 months later like, I own this Toko, I want you to put it in my name, and we'll go, no, you don't, because Toy House doesn't dictate ownership to us. You're going to have to go and 7 people back to the original owner and tell them to move it to you on Tokotas. So, we have those problems. So, that's why you can't do it. So, we made these. And these have the cute little background on them as well. You can take these and color them as you want. You can post them wherever you want. You can edit them as you need to. There's only 2 or 3 basic rules on this, which is you can't take these and color them and sell them as adoptables. That's not okay. And you can't take them and use them as line art in another ARPG species. You couldn't grab these cute little things and be like, and these are my bear wolf dogs over another species. That wouldn't be cool. But otherwise, you can take them, post them on Toy House, post them on Twitch, post them on anywhere you want. We don't care. That's what these are for. These page dolls are specifically for that. Color, have fun. And that's how it is on these. Missing anything about page dolls?
I don't think so. We've got all the builds, all the mains. We do not have main variants, though.
We don't have main variants, and we don't have the new ones.
Oh, point. We should probably hit up Fleet. I'll put that in our...
Yes, we'll see if we can hit up Fleet about the other one. Do they give HP?
mean, the same way that an HP sheet would, where it'd be half for reuse. And all
Yeah,
that.
you could get like half of the one full body, and you can still only do it once. But yes, thank you, Azula.
Thank you, Azula.
But yeah, as far as like the HP situation is going to go on these guys, they're going to be treated the same way as you use an HP sheet. So we're not going to try and figure out which was the first time use. We're going to go ahead and just say it's half HP of a standard full body. And then if you shade color, that's that.
First use doesn't matter on HP, actually. If you reuse it at all, everything gets halved.
Oh, good to know. So yeah, you can use it once per Toko for half if you really want to. We'll happily count it. All right. So that's page dolls. I should warn you all, this podcast is extremely eclectic. There's a lot of random little things all over the place that we're going to make you aware of. So we're rolling from like page dolls into the Kootenai Cultural Association, the TCA. In the coming year, well, actually, in the previous year, you'll notice that we've got more people working on taming than we ever had before. We took Outpost down and we're replacing it with TT Lotto. Like, a lot of changes happened in that time. Well, more are happening. And here's what we're going to do. Taming, TCA Rehome, and Outpost are going to become one department on the team. They're going to become the TCA department. And the same group of people are going to run all three. And with that, more changes will happen throughout the year as we kind of bring these things together. And part of the reason we're doing this is basically 2 years ago, we had one person doing all the taming. It was madness. It was hard to keep up with it. So over last year, we made a team, and there's lots of people who come in and out and trade off doing the taming. And we have a channel which people go into and say, I'm rolling this, and then a rolling channel, and you can match everything. It brought everything really like clean and easy for us to go back and look at it and be like, okay, well, what happened here? Oh, okay, here's this. Helped us catch mistakes. It did all of that. And it was so effective in taming, we want to take it and move it over to doing TCA rehoming, and we want to bring Outpost back. It's not going to be the Outpost that it used to be. It will be something a little different. It will be coming in March, and we're going to maintain the cycling schedule for those. So it's going to be that January taming. We've got the wilds ready to go for that. Speaking of, we have the wilds ready to go for January. TCA will come in February, and then Outpost will return in March. And it will work different than before. It'll be the same group of people working on them. And that does mean that as soon as we get these streamlined, then things like TCA rank will probably start coming into play for you to be able to like use your TCA rehoming and your outposting, whatever, as requirements and attempts and all of that towards your TCA rank, so you can continually be working on it all year.
Interaction HP will be getting overhauled, so they'll no longer be different between wilds and TCA rehome. Mm-hmm. It's going to get overhauled into something that's a little bit more than just throw some HP tokens at it.
Yes.
Which means it will come with rewards, of course.
And as Dom was saying, we're going to take those TCA Academy and taming interaction levels. We're going to unify them into one system. We're going to put a little more behind them than just generating HP tokens. But that does mean, of course, that we'll put buff behind that as well. So we're going to turn that into a little bit more of something too. And for anyone who's like, but the TT Lotto, first off, none of you, it barely gets used, even though it comes up from the same three people. But I love the TT Lotto. I'm like, but you're the only people doing the TT Lotto.
No, TT Lotto had a lot of participation last year, but it's not very interactive for being a cycling activity.
It's not very interactive at all. Dunn is trying to convince me to move the TT Lotto onto Tokotas. I'm not sure about investing the time in it. It's a little bit back and forth. More than likely, you'll get the TT Lotto onto Tokotas when I have a weekend where my brain just decides it's going to work on some code. But there's no timeline in place. There's no deadline in place for that. TT Lotto, as you had it last year, we're not going to be doing that. It will likely move to the site when it moves to the site, right? We have a lot going on, and thankfully, we have 2 more pretty dedicated coders, but everyone works in their own little sections getting things done. So if we're talking about updating the breeding roller, I'm going to go to secret. I'm just going to go secret. I need these things, and I'm going to let her run and do it. And if we're talking about adventures, I'm going to go to debris. And all of us work everywhere, but we each have little areas we specialize in. So it'll just be when someone gets to doing it, it'll get done. Okay? And that is what's going on with the TCA. So I'll pause there and be like, if you want to ask about the page dolls, you want to ask about TCA, anything changing there, pop on over to Discord. I'm going to pause because the next thing we're going to talk about is faction brawls, and that'll probably be a slightly longer conversation.
All right. Will taming still rotate on if you won last round, you can't win the next because of the new rotating cycle? So you can get one wild, in theory, every 6 months. Also, does taming from October Christmas events count as a tame for the following rounds? I'd really like to go for this round from the hints, but I'd like to know first. So Advent doesn't count on wilds. Advent is its own holiday thing.
Yeah, Advent's part of Snowfall. It's got nothing to do with TCA and taming. If you tamed at Halloween, do you get to go in January? No, you don't. Halloween, we've always had the exception that if you tamed previously, because there's so many Halloween wilds, that you would still get a shot at the Tokoween wilds, because there's so many. But there does need to be some sort of, downfall to it, which is, we're going to be looking at it this year, and your cooldowns and all of that, and try and streamline it. We don't want people to not attempt to tame in, would it be June?
July.
It's July. We don't want people to not try and tame in July so that they don't miss Tokoween, but there does need to be some sort of cooldown maintained on it.
Yeah. I don't think the cooldowns will be going across, so if you tame, you can't TCA rehome and you can't outpost, but if you do all 3 back-to-back, you're obviously locked out from all 3 back-to-back on the next go.
Exactly. So we'll look at it. We'll make sure that it's fair for everybody. We know Tokoween is that big special one, which is why it's always been the exception to the lockout rule. But with rehoming and outpost coming, expect changes to be coming for that. What was the second question? Because they asked 2 different things.
I think you actually answered everything. It's more or less the same.
Oh, okay.
Nope, I think we hit every point there. So Snowfall doesn't count.
Mm-hmm.
We're continuing with if you've tamed the previous round, you can't tame the next round.
Exactly.
And I think the same holds for TCA.
If it doesn't hold for TCA, it's going to.
The goal with these is unify the rules. There's no more confusion.
Yes, we're going to unify the rules. We're going to make it so you can constantly be working on your TCA rank. And with that, obviously, I guess we'll say, Cash stepped down from the team this year. She's been running TCA and Outpost for years at this point. So with that, her stepping down and taming being run by a new team, we're just going to get a whole new manager into that section to get it up and running. And you'll just see lots of changes come because as new blood gets in there, new ideas get flowing. And as always, we'll be sure that nobody gets totally screwed over by a change we're making without at least giving some grandfathering time or something to get them sorted out. So, any other questions on that?
Do wild raffles count as taming? I believe that would be the ones from Tokoween where we had the Discord raffle wilds and stuff.
Yes, those count as taming, yes.
The reason for these lockouts is we only have so many wilds a year, and we have lots of players, and case in point, I know Fens talked about how they tamed for years and years and years and never tamed a Toko, despite trying.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way we can do to make sure everybody has a good shot at getting a wild of their own is to do lockouts like that.
Is to do lockouts. I have every single bonus to taming except 1. Maybe 2. I don't think
Maybe 2 these days, because Tribe Companion and...
Then there's a Tribe 1. So I've got every single bonus to taming except that. You don't want me to be able to do it every single time. Despite not taming a ton, I'm a big taming competitor when I bring all my bonuses to the table. Dun's got a ton of those bonuses too. Other people too as well. So... it still counts. So
we had that problem back under the old system.
Yes.
Where the same people always tamed, and it was very discouraging for the rest of everybody doing it.
Yeah, I won't name names, but we all know that back in the first couple of years of Tokos with taming, the same 4 people, 5 people tamed everything. That's not a lot of fun. So we have the lockouts to prevent that. Yeah, yes, you don't get to go the next round, but you did tame a cool Toko. And if you didn't want that Toko, why were you trying to tame it? Because you can auto-fail for those ranks. Yeah.
And that's why we introduced autofail for moving up TCA ranks.
Exactly. I think that was Cass. I think Cass sorted out that autofail. And honestly, autofail is great on us. We just have to make sure your image matches and then we're good to go.
Yeah, autofail's amazing.
Autofail is great. So, but we've been working really hard to get it more consistent. You know at this point, I think it's 8 or 9 PST, depends on what time it is for Jill, what time of the time zone of the year she's in. Like we're trying to close it at the same time every night. We're trying to get it rolled within a couple hours of closing, and that just keep it going. We're back and forth, and if we're going to do delayed starts on some of them. This first January, we won't be doing that. All of them will come out on the 1st. And then later in the year, we might try doing a delayed start. And that way they'll be taming running all month rather than usually within the first 2 weeks. Because most Tokos tame within the first 2 weeks. All right.
Probably for Tokoween next year, though, we'll be doing the rounds just because of the sheer volume of Tokoween Wilds. That worked well on an admin work level.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We did those delayed rounds. For the admins, that was a game changer. Because if you think about all the Tokoween Wilds that came out, if one person was trying to roll all of those on a single night, and then as Tokos tamed, those people could then come in and help in other rounds to roll. Mm-hmm. Because, it was fine at that point. So, yeah. We're working on it. We're always working on trying to make it better. And this is our most, despite the fact that we have a section called PvP, this is our most PvP part of the game. Mm-hmm. And we just try and take some of the sting out of it. So, expect, there's always conversations about new UTs for it, new companions, new traits, ways to that aren't just numerical bonuses. And we'll keep everyone updated. Expect changes to come to taming, TCA Rehome, and Outpost, which will all become TCA. So you'll hear us start just referring to it as like TCA. So it might be like TCA Taming, TCA Rehome, TCA Outpost.
If you go look on the game guides tab, they've all been grouped under its Tokotas Cultural Association.
Yeah.
So it's all together now.
Yep. And, speaking of renames, we have got a little rebranding. So we have CEs, PvP, TVT, all of that. We're going ahead and putting that under one banner called competitions now. Oh, Brawl all goes under competitions. So when we're talking about that is that group of activities put together. The same way we would talk about exploring, caving, diving, hunting, fishing as activities, we would talk about CEs, PvP, TVT, Brawl as competition. So that little rebrand is coming.
Got one more question for you.
Oh yeah, go for it.
If these are all becoming a thing, does that mean it will have any effect on the bonding bonus that Tier 5 currently gives? I believe we're leaving the Tier 5 bonding, Tier 1 specifically, 2 images alone.
Yes.
But there may be other changes to the bonuses that go up to make sure they apply across the board.
Mm-hmm. This is one of those moments where bonding Tier 2 is happening. It's awesome. It's finally going to be there. We have adventures out and running. Tier 3 is going to come. And then things that were previously affected, at some point we'll need to go back, take a look, and get everything in place. So yeah, maybe expect some changes to TCA ranks coming. But they shouldn't be... Unless I put together a podcast that's literally called TCA Rank Rebalance, they shouldn't be insane. Yeah.
You jinxed us. We're going to have this podcast in the next 6 months. And I put money now on it.
Yeah, but it's, what it's going to be like. It's going to be majority good for them.
I know.
And a couple things that clean up our lives. So, speaking of competitions, we're going to roll on over into talking about faction brawls. So the faction brawls from World Tour have actually been really popular. People have enjoyed it. It's been a new type of Toko for them to tack out. I know that I took my PvP Toko and basically made them a Brawl Toko. And World Tour is that never-ending thing, which we don't hold other events for at this point. Like, when we're ready for the next World Tour, it'll drop. But other events may happen in between, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, the original schedule for World Tour, where it was a region a month, oh my god, what was I thinking?
I don't know what you were thinking. But the faction brawls themselves have been really popular. So World Tour Faction Brawl is going to remain World Tour Faction Brawl. But in the 6 months of the year that are not our holiday months, because as you know, we have our new holiday schedule. We did it last year. It went really well. We're going to do it again in the coming year, so you know when holidays are going to be. In those 6 non-holiday months, we're going to do a Faction Brawl. And this first one upcoming is going to be in January. It's going to be the Pack Leaders Faction Brawl. So basically, the Pack Leaders faction will be hosting it for us. And unlike World Tour, it's only going to be one round. And your faction rank is not going to come into play right now. That's going to remain special to World Tour. But basically, on the first, we're going to pop up the journal. You'll have a preview of usually like 3, 4, 5 days until we open. And at that point, you'll have a 2-week window to put your entry in. This January might be a little special because there's no guarantee we're going to wait till the 4th to open. We might go on the 2nd. The ramp up is happening. Open will happen sometime in the next week. Probably. But once we open, it's like a 2-week window to put your submission in. And then it'll take us about a week to do the judging. Everyone will get Brawl points, and the Brawl store is going live again. We figured out the issue, we fixed it, so Brawl store will be up with this Faction Brawl, so you'll be able to spend your BP once more. And then the points for that will go toward just like a yearly championship. So we'll put all of your like weighted scores towards a yearly championship. And then in March, who's March?
March will be...
We have a chart. It's here somewhere.
It's all on the calendar for everybody now.
Oh, and apparently this is all up on the calendar for now if you guys want to go look. So Token Brokers will be doing March. And they'll do a Token Broker themed activity for us to do. What's this first one we're doing?
I think we were talking about like a Balto style medicine relay with sleds.
Right. As of right now, tentative, probably going to happen unless someone come up with a really good reason why it shouldn't. We'll be having a medicine relay race with sleds. That'll be the pack leader one. Token Broker will have something more themed towards their faction. And then at the end of the year, we'll have a grand championship, and they'll just get like one extra prize and a little more BP. And bragging rights for the next year. So it's kind of like having our dominance, but without the FP. Mm-hmm. And so this will be an interactive way to do brawls all year.
You will also earn FP for those dominance through brawls.
Yes, you will also earn FP. Let me see. Oh, and Yeti and Rottweiler will be going to Brawl as official companions for them. Rottweiler will be doing...
Close my damn sheet.
Why would you close the sheet that had all the information on it?
Panic. Rottweiler is going to function like Dalmatian.
But for FP? Or BP? So, Rottweiler will be functioning similar to... Okay.
So, it'll get you TP like Dalmatian, but it's more TP. So, it's, I think we're looking at 2 and 3.
TP or BP? TP, okay.
Points,
so Rottweiler will be the Dalmatian equivalent in Brawl to get you extra TP. Okay? But you get a little more because you can't do it as often as the TVT stuff. And then Yeti
double... Currently, we're still talking out which currencies it's going to affect.
Okay.
It's going to double all FP and BP earned in Brawl.
Okay, so the Yeti will double your FP and your BP earned in Brawl. Remember, everyone earns some BP from every round. The Yeti will double it. That is the current tentative bonus on that. We're
talking about expanding it to the other competitions. We're seeing how much of an effect that would be.
Exactly. So Yeti will probably expand. Yeti is a soul pool companion because that's where all those crazy ones are. It's the Borga-themed one. Mm-hmm. So we do have to weigh it against what you're spending to what you get. It cannot be game-breaking, but it should be a little more than just getting a Rottweiler.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our Yeti. Let me see. I think I talked about one round. We're going to use a similar grading rubric to the World Tour. We're just going to remove faction rank from it, but we're going to use everything else the same. So you don't have to be like, Which faction brawl looks like what? They work the same way. It's just less rounds and no faction rank.
Yep. Be the same rubric that you guys all saw from the faction brawl craziness that we had to do.
And if you're like, what are you talking about? Go to our YouTube. You can check it out over there. We already have it up. That's the faction brawl hiccup. Hiccup. All right. Any questions about faction brawl? Anyone typing there?
Don't see so. Jeez.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't see anybody typing, so we can roll on to the next one.
All right, so we're going to roll on to the next one. We're actually going to talk about activities. And I'm going to point it out because when I point it out, everyone I've said it to, they've gone, oh, hold on a minute. That's real. That's a real thing. I now know what you're speaking of. There is basically, I've called it the Grand Bison Crisis of 2022, which is there are no bison. They're gone. There are no bobcats. They're gone. I don't think there's any pythons. And what are oh god, there's a bunch.
All the hunting fishing companions are low.
All the hunting fishing companions are gone. The bison we noticed the most. I believe I either paid Tina or Captain Bison once for art for the game. They wanted in-game. I think they were like, can I just have like 5 bison? I was like, sure. I guess you can have these 5 bison. And that might not be accurate. They may have asked for like 10. So we've all felt it. We've all noticed it. That they've just not been around. Our figured out why. Last year, there was a big push where everybody wanted a guide about exactly how the activity roller worked. And I told you all it wasn't that simple. This was a massive piece of code. It was crazy in how it made determinations and its dynamic nature. And every time we added a new item and we added new this, the numbers changed on us because it took weighting and all of that into account. So sometime before I took over the roller, possibly before the last person took over the roller, and even possibly before that, like we could be talking about going all the way back to the original days of Tokos. We learned from this deep dive. I won't get too technical because it hurt my brain understanding the solution we're implementing. There's an artificial cap in hunting and fishing that does not allow so in fishing, fish, so non-fish in fishing, and in hunting, non-pelts, to take up more than 10% of the odds. So that means companions, trash, elemental hearts, everything like that, you stuff it in there, it can't take up more than 10% of the odds of everything. So there's an artificial cap in place that was lowering the odds of everything that wasn't a fish or a pelt. I understand why it probably exists. It makes actually a lot of sense. It's like, I can see why you do that. It ensures that when you're fishing and hunting, the majority of what you get is pelts and fish, running on the assumption that's what you're actually here for. But it had a very adverse effect on companions when we took those hunting and fishing companions and we put them into hunting and fishing only. So it's not that they couldn't proc, but their chance of procking was just abysmally small. Ree found it while she was doing the deep dive about that activity guide. She figured it out, like it's hard-coded in there, into the code. So Ree found it, she dug it out, she laid out a lovely document explaining it. I had to read it like 10 times to actually understand like everything that was going on in it. And what we're going to do to correct this is we're going to be adding a way that we dynamically inflate the proc rate, the correct way to say that. I'm trying to figure out how we would say it. Oh, we're doing some really crazy math.
Yeah, it went over my head. I'm not going to lie.
We're doing some really crazy math, but the result of this math, and no, I don't have a formula to show you. There's no perfect formula for this. But we're doing some really crazy math that basically takes hunting and fishing and it takes your companions and those important items again and it pulls them back up into range like explores once more. So it brings them back in line there's like a dynamic way that we're giving them extra weight, and all of them have a different weighting factor or a different like pass fraction to basically do that without changing it so that hunting and fishing, like the fish and the pelts, without decimating their chances. So it's some really crazy math. Ree came up with it. I read it over. I'm not sure how to explain it to everybody any more layman than I already have. We've enacted it in the roller. We are going to be watching January to see what happens, because January we always have a big pop of activities because people did them in December and they start turning them in. I can breathe. I'm fine. So in January, we're going to watch and see what happens. If the numbers are coming back of companions, hearts, things of that nature, if they come back more like what we want to see, we'll leave it. If they don't, we'll edit it again. I'll tell you all if we do another change. It won't be like secret, because of course, here we are, telling you we found this, telling you it's not what we expected it to be, and here's our plan to fix it. So, as always, we're trying to give you as much transparency into these disasters as we can.
Even if some of us are just like, I like the charts.
I like the charts. There were some nice charts. Maybe I'll show you guys the charts. Do I have the charts?
I can go see if I can find the chart.
All right, Dun's going to see if she can go find the chart. But yeah, so that's what's happened. That is what caused the disappearance of the buffaloes in Tokone. Sorry, I've been teasing Dun. Like, we're allowed to do that with each other.
Okay, the charts are all in the doc, so I don't know how to... I guess I can just link you the doc.
Can you just take a screenshot of one of the charts and kick it at me? I can throw it up here pretty quick.
Which one do you want?
The one that shows that they all look correct. Okay. Dun's pulling the charts.
Trying and failing.
And with that, I will now happily take questions on this activity change that we're making. And while you guys are writing the questions, I'm going to talk about a few other little tweaks that we'll be putting in.
I guess I've got this one where it's all the different options we were looking at. I don't know.
Okay.
Is this the one you want?
Hold on, I've opened it. I'll find the one I want. I know which one I want. I can see it in my head.
Okay. I'll go look for questions.
Dun, dun. I found the one I wanted.
Okay.
In all fairness, I wasn't giving her a lot about what I actually wanted. So it is fair. Here we go. Here's charts. All right.
She has a lovely layman's and podcast chatter for us.
Oh, does she? That's lovely. Okay. Podcast chatter, you'll get a lovely layman speak of it. I was struggling to give it. But here's a nice look at the chart. We're going with the dynamic version of what we're going to change. So you can see the old, the static, the dynamic. These were the different ones we were looking at. We're going with the dynamic. It'll bring it a little more in line with what it used to be. Okay? For bringing this information up. So, give you a nice little chart. Let's see how that goes. And with that, go ahead and start posting your questions over in Discord. And I'm going to bring up a few more little changes. And these actually are much smaller changes that we're making to activities. One is which we'll be adding pebbles to caving. Mm-hmm. Yes. Pebbles will be added to caving. And the reason for that is that the soul pool pebble will be coming. And as part of the crafting for that, you will need pebbles. So we will... Oh, hold on. I actually do have... Let me close the charts for a second. Ta-dam! So as part of that, we will have some new companions coming. I believe our glowworm is...
Glowworm is snail for pebbles.
It's the snail, but for pebbles. So you'll be able to take it to try and get pebbles. Pebbles can be used for the soul pool pebble, I think is what we're calling it. And then the soul pool pebble will be used to direct your step up or step down. So if you're breeding and you have like 3 options for step down, with a soul pool pebble, you can pick one of them. It doesn't increase your odds in any capacity, but it just means that if you do hit the step down chance, it's going to be that main, rather than evenly splitting it between the others. And the axolotl?
Axolotl is a beluga equivalent for caving.
This will be the beluga equivalent for caving. There's the axolotl. I believe red did both of these for us?
Yep.
Yes, so red did both of these for us. And so pebbles will be being added to caving. And what you probably didn't know is that you could only ever use one alpha trait at a time in activities. Yes, I know, very strange, because every Toko only has one alpha trait. Unless you had Ipax Tack and got really lucky. You could possibly have a Toko with 2 alpha traits. But previously you could only use one of them in activities. Talk to Azlua about this, and we're going to go ahead and lift that restriction, and you can use any applicable alpha trait in activities. And that means if your Ipax Tack pulls you an alpha trait and you put it on another alpha Toko, you can't put alpha traits on sub-Tokos. They have to go on alphas. But if you do that, you'll be able to, use both of them now. We've gone ahead and updated the roller. So, there you go. And they should both show up on your activity form. If they're not, send us
to link one, so I'll check the code.
Okay, perfect. They should both show up. I wasn't doing anything special, I think, to show only one.
Take a look.
Alrighty.
Alright, so I'm looking for
Okay.
now.
Alright, and so with that, that's everything I have to say about activities today. Oh yeah, they're definitely. But remember, you can craft IPAC Tack. Sky, IPAC Tack can get you alpha and AOA traits that you can apply to Tokos.
So 615 and 616. Yep, I see it in.
Perfect.
They're both in the activity code, so we're solid.
All right, so there we go. So that's up and running as of January. Just make sure that you have your updated forms on your activities. Okay? All right. Any questions that popped up about this?
No questions so far.
Oh, dang. What is going on? Okay, you know what? It's fine. Because UT is going to take me forever.
Yes.
All right. So now we come to the meat of our podcast. I'm going to go ahead and just drop the spoiler right away. Because it tells you nothing.
You mean you're not going to start them with what this is?
They've
all found this.
Is it first on my list?
I thought so.
You didn't put it on my list.
I didn't put it on your list.
You didn't put it on my list.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll start with it. We have a new UT coming. The UT is affectionately called Phoenix. And a Toko with the Phoenix UT will automatically heal wounds or automatically succeed on heal checks. This means you still have to draw the image, but the injury that you're healing will automatically succeed.
Although it completely heals regardless of severity.
Yes, completely heals regardless of severity. And that's only for that Toko. So, this is our... What's his name? I don't think I saw his name yet.
I think this might have been Firebird, but that might also be the...
Yeah, that might be the other thing.
The other thing. Hold on. Double checking. I put it in Totem Stash.
Okay, hold on. Dun's getting the name of this boy.
I'm very unprepared.
You're extremely unprepared, and I'm prepared. The world is topsy-turvy today.
Oh, this is Phoenix Rising.
Phoenix Rising?
I didn't name it.
Like the football team? Sorry, the soccer team?
Kira named it. I wasn't going to fix it.
Huh.
Firebird's the other one.
Firebird's the other one. Okay. Okay, he might get a different name, or just a more condensed name. But this is the new Phoenix starter. And as I said, his UT power will be that when he's in a heal check, automatically heals the wounds. So this will be great for like PvP Tokos. This will be great for adventure Tokos because you still have to do the healing image, but you know you'll succeed.
Also, it will work with Macaque. So if you apply Macaque, which allows you to heal multiple injuries at once,
it'll heal them all at the same time. Exactly. All right.
I have a question on that one if you want.
Yeah, I'll take it right now.
Does this make Medic obsolete?
Why? Medic works on healing other Tokos.
This is just this Toko.
Yeah. Medic gives you a bonus to healing other Tokos. The Phoenix only works on the Toko it's applied to.
Like the Phoenix Smith, it's resurrecting itself from the ashes.
Yup. Alrighty. And then following on, I have so much to talk about with unique tricks, guys. So with the fix we're doing for activities,
Should we maybe start with our why we're doing this?
Oh, actually, yeah. Well, let me do the soft buff ones, then I'll do what we're actually changing. Because these aren't changing.
Yeah.
So, with the fixed activities, Nogrix Vision, Scriptum, and Radiant are getting a soft buff. Because we did not realize that Radiant was useless in fishing, caving. And the same for Scriptum and Nogrix Vision.
Not caving, fishing, hunting.
Yeah, I meant fishing, hunting. I totally meant fishing, hunting. That's what I said. They weren't super helpful in that because your odds were just insanely low. So given that we're doing that change, these guys are getting a soft buff. How they work is not changing. They're just going to be functionally more useful. All right? So that's good to know. So those are the new UT and the soft buffs. And the reason we're calling them soft buffs is because we have other changes. I'm going to start with a big disclaimer about this. I'm going to talk for a couple minutes on why we're doing what we're doing and the change that's going to be different than our usual. And of course, we're going to have a spot for your feedback about it. We hope you understand why we're making this change. So last year, we got rid of Crafting Genie. Crafting Genie was out of control. The more that came into the system, the worse it got. I benefited from it, and I knew it was out of control. So I was one of the staunch people behind, we need to get rid of it. Like, we have to figure out a way to get this in control. And we couldn't come to a compromise to lower its power to make it so it was fine if everybody had one. We just couldn't reach it. We did try, it didn't work out, it sucked. So we had to remove Crafting Genie from the system because it was out of control. And we couldn't balance it no matter what we did. And because of the way that UTs have previously been treated, which is the founder has every decision-making power on it, that's one of the reasons we ended up in the situation we are. It's not the entire reason, it's just one of them. And then we had to make the rough call of cutting it. A bunch of people got semis and things to just kind of like take the sting away. It was alright. I enjoyed it. I loved my UH Longmane that I got to have special privilege on for a couple months. Trust me, I bred it. I've seen the numbers. That trait went many places very quickly. But so that's what was going on there. And just kind of, it sucks. So as we go and deal with more UTs, we start running into the same problems over and over and over again, which is sometimes we have to deal with people who no longer exist in the game. People who've deactivated accounts because they're angry at DA, people who haven't played in 5 years and have no interest in playing again. We run into people who really like their power because they know it's a little too powerful and they don't want to change, and it's really hard to balance the game. So going forward, regardless of player-owned or group-owned, the group is going to take the stance of we have the right to change the UTs. We don't want another situation like CG to ever happen again. We do not want to have a moment where we have to pull it out of the game before it becomes a disaster for us. Because it was already there. It was already causing us problems. So we don't want to ever hit that moment again, which is why we're just going to say we have the right to change unique traits, whether they're player-owned, founder-owned. These are traits that they've been created with hundreds of different people making decisions on them. And in many situations, from my personal experience, not even the right person who should have been making the decisions on these particular traits. I myself, I think Morgan came up with my trait, never ran it by his Lua, signed off and said it was great. Then poor as Lua had to come in 6 months later and be like, I never would have okayed this. But at that point it was done because I've already been waiting over a year for them to make the trait. So, like, things like that were really common with player-owned. It's part of the reason we got rid of the concept of player-owned UTs. So, we are taking back that power that we can change them. That being said, we don't want to have to change anything in a manner that totally screws up a UT and makes it useless. We don't want that. They are supposed to be more powerful than the average trait. So I have a huge list of changes coming to UTs. In this list, there is 0 nerfs. We didn't need to nerf any UT. We've been keeping track of them, keeping them balanced. We've been much better about it. We handled the one that was outside of our control, and we've been careful to balance against everything else. So we don't want to ever have to remove one. We don't ever want to have to, like, destroy the concept of one. But we're not going to be beholden to people who sometimes aren't here anymore to make changes that are good for the game. So we're always going to be looking at what's best for the game long term. We're always going to be a lot more careful about balancing the new ones. We haven't had to do a lot of major changes to them since we took over just having them group owned. And what we did basically a couple weeks ago is we went and we got the numbers of every UT in the game and how many there were, and discovered some are extremely unpopular. There are less of this UT than there are, like, others. So I'll throw Trialist under the wagon wheels here. Trialist, there's 17 of them. You know how long it's been out? 17.
Versus
UH, which how many is there in that? It's only been out like 8 months? 60.
There's 282 Wises.
Yeah. So it's just ridiculous. So we've gone through them all. We looked at which ones exist, and we've made modifications to about, I think there's 11 on this list.
11.
Yeah.
4 of them are group owned, so they are ones we made.
Yes. So 4 of these changes are group owned. Now, one of them, regardless of what I just said, one of them, because of the manner in which we've changed it, I did reach out to the founder because it was so dramatic of a thing. And I talked to her. She's fine. She's good with it. It's Trialist. Trialist got a huge, basically reworked Trialist from the ground up, threw out what it was and brought in an entirely different trait. We couldn't make that trait better. It wasn't going to happen. So I talked to Bitter. Because it was that I talked to Bitter, I haven't talked to any other founders about the rest of these.
They all stay true to the core of what they were.
Yes. They stay true to the core of what this was. And Bitters, because of what I wanted to do, I did reach out to her personally and talk to her. She's 100% on board with it. I even said, I'm throwing out what's there and I want to build a new one. And she was like, okay. So that one, I did reach out just to be open and honest about it. The rest of these I have not. I still don't think you're going to be disappointed about them. Okay? So before I go through the list, does anyone have any questions about what I have just declared for Tokos? It's not our usual way of doing things, but for the sanity of group health, we have to be in control of all of these things again, and we have to be able to make these decisions and changes without trying to find someone who hasn't played in 5 years or
has deactivated and we have no contact information.
Right, completely deactivated, no contact information, can't find them at all, or even just ones where people are like, but I really like how powerful it is, and we're like, we know, but it doesn't work for the long term of the game. Which is what we have to think about, the long term. Any questions getting typed up there? This is the crappiest part of the podcast right now.
Group having UT dictatorship sounds excellent.
Yeah. This is the crappiest part of this entire podcast right now. This disclaimer is the crappiest part. Everything else is good.
Whew. There's people typing.
Okay, I'm going to give them a moment to type. Okay.
Apparently a lot of people assume that we just had the right to change it. Every change we've ever made to a UT has been a lot of talking to people. Yeah, every change previously made to a UT has been talking to people, except for when we talked about the history of what happened with CG, where, I think I said in that podcast who it was, but I may not have, so I'm not going to. Somebody changed it without asking.
Somebody changed it without asking, which is why the third time we asked to change it, we got told no, because of how disrespectful that had been at the time. But seeing as we're going to be upfront with everybody about it and tell everybody it, at this point, you know. You're aware. And our goal is always group health, we're not after a trait because someone owns it. It's always about group health.
All Alright, you ready for questions?
Yep.
Will Trial stack with Horse Totem?
No.
But it's also changing, so when we get there, you'll see why it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Will there be a chart-like comparison or additional podcast to go over these changes thoroughly in the future?
I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah, the next step is going through each and every one of these.
And I'll explain to you the thought process and why it's changing. That is the next step in this podcast.
Which was why it's the meat of this podcast.
It is. That's why everything else went so fast, because this is the meat of this entire podcast. It's why it's called New Years and New UTs.
Oh, is that what you named this?
Yes.
Oh, I totally missed that. Someone's still typing.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll give them a moment to type. Okay, and then I should pop open Tokopedia.
I've got it open so I can read them for you.
Yes, but I also want to be able to read them.
Okay.
So we're both going to.
Okay, this isn't exactly UT related, but it is related to the soft buffs, so...
Okay, go for it.
Is Runic Sight being affected? My boy hasn't brought any Stone of Eye packs since he encountered... Blah. Yes, Runic Sight was affected by the hunting-fishing issue.
Oh, yeah. Anything that's in hunting and fishing, and it's about anything that's not a fish or a pelt, was affected. We just didn't even think about Runic Sight, and I think Fragmented Sight and Elementals. No, because Nagric works on that.
Yeah. So all of those are also, getting fixed with this.
Yes, we were focused on the UTs. We never looked at the soul pull traits, but yes, thing. The exact same thing.
Stone of Eye pack would be one of those items that has been fixed to show up appropriately.
Exactly. The only one that was not affected was Soul Pool Water. It was literally excluded on purpose. I don't know who coded that, but they did.
Soul Pool Water came out late compared to everything else, so
right.
It's probably just kind of got stacked on top.
I'm suspecting that HP and Cat knew about the existence of it, and when Soul Pool Water came in, one of them patched Soul Pool Water specifically, and that's fine. I didn't reach out to them to ask. Like, this is not a stupid decision that was made to put the cap in place, but given our lack of knowledge on it, it had a long-term consequence. All right. Anything else?
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay.
All right, let's kick this off.
So, first one, Aurora Boon. Half of you are going, there's a UT called Aurora Boon? And the other half are going, nobody has that, Jill. You are correct. No one has it.
Nobody wanted it.
Nobody wanted it. Nobody tried that hard. Not even me to get to it. But Aurora Boon is getting a rework. It will now grant the Tokotas owner access to all special deity shrines at the Shrine of Seven Stones year-round. That means you have access to all the shrines off of one bonded Toko. And it gives a rarity boost to offering tokens at all shrines. This stacks with all other rarity shrine boosts with diminishing returns to a maximum of 3 bonuses. So that means the LK...
WT?
I think it's LK... I think it's
LKPL?
The shrine boost that LK has and another faction also has. I think there's a totem that does this.
That's not out, Jill.
Okay, well, there's a totem coming that has this.
Jill!
There's other ways to get these boosts. It'll maximize up to about 3 boosts, and all of them will work together with, like, a diminishing return. So it's like if one gives 5 and one gives 5, together they're going to give 7.5, not 10. And it'll go up to about 3 bonuses. So Aurora Boon's getting that change to it. I'm going to do these in, probably, lots of 3, and then I'll pause for questions. So if you have a question about, the first, second, or third one I talk about, start typing them and drop them in.
Do you want me to put a space between each of
yes,
chunks of 3?
Please. And the very last one deserves its own section.
There we go. Okay.
So that's Aurora Boon. The reality is it just wasn't very shiny as a trait. It was cute in concept. It's our only non-hereditary UT. We may have more. We might look at changing how you get it because the 6 UTs is proving to be very difficult. Even for me, with 2 quads and 4 I gave/sold this year away, it's very difficult.
6 UTs proven difficult.
We might want to do more 3 UTs, so you need 3 boons involved, and then a shot for it to pop.
What if you have to have Like, you have to have the 3 light deities involved in the breeding, or the 3 dark deities, so they have to be those 3 matched. I don't know how much of a pain in the ass that would be for coding.
That's a secret question.
That's a secret question.
Yes. So, we're going to take a look at that. We haven't made a final decision on that. It'll be in the news when we do. But the trait itself has been changed. And there's not a ton to say about it because of the nature of what it was. Just need all 6 in the breeding. Not on one kid. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's also true. You just need all 6 of them in the breeding. You basically needed 2 trips.
Hi, Secret.
Yeah,
We're
Secret.
making work for you.
You don't think she had enough this month? When she had to take all of that madness from breeding and put it in a roller?
Yes.
BTW. The main calculator's on the side navigation bar, side menu, the side menu, and the new roller. New is the one with all the new odds. The one that doesn't say new is the old one. And remember, 2 months you can use both. All right, so that's Aurora Boon. Next, we're going to talk about bribery and offering of the gods together. Offering of the Gods, despite being one of the oldest UTs in the game, I want to say it's like the 2nd or 3rd one in creation, is extremely unpopular.
41 Tokos.
There are 41 in like the 5 years it has existed. That's pretty bad. Bribery, not as bad, but you'll see why bribery gets updated when I talk about Offering of the Gods. So for Offering of the Gods, the way it currently works is you can go into a breeding and you can sacrifice something, an item below 5,000 or above 5,000 for different bonuses, like a different numerical bonus. What we've done is we've gone ahead and removed that concept of needing to figure out these items, and we've just added 2 crafting items. Is it small and large?
Yeah, they're not on the site yet because I'm still waiting on the art assets.
Okay.
But I'll make them if we don't have them by tomorrow.
So they'll be there. They'll be crafting. Small is free, and large is common or uncommon?
Common.
Okay, large is common. So small sacrificial bag. Basically, you would go and craft the bag, and then you can use it in breeding to gain that plus 10. And for the large, you would use in the breeding to get the plus 15. You don't have to figure out math. You don't have to pick a random item. You don't have to worry about the random item disappearing. Just go and craft the sacrificial bag, and it'll sit in the breeding section for people, and they'll just pull it out there. So we just simplified how the power worked because it's a pain to remember to use it. But it'll work the same as it did before, but now it'll be 10-15 with small, which is free, and then a common recipe for the large. And they're the equivalent amount that you would spend-ish. It's like the average of the two. You would spend, and you can gain the buff. So it's less confusing to use it. The wall of text that was the trait has gone down to like 2 lines on my screen, and I don't have a very large screen. So
yes, you will still need an offering to the gods to use it.
Yes, you'll still need the offering to the gods to use it. It's just, this is the special item for using it to streamline and just make it easier on people.
Say you post a breeding and you're like, I'm going to sacrifice this beaver for this plus 15, but by the time your breeding gets gotten to, you were like, oh, I have a beaver, I guess I'm going to sell that, or I'm going to apply it to a toko so it's not there, and off you go to corrections.
Exactly. It'll prevent those and just make it easier to understand. Small bag, 10. Large bag, 15. You don't have to go look at the price of anything. Because previously this was like a 6-line thing on my screen. It's now tiny. It just says, in every breeding you can sacrifice 1 small sacrificial bag to gain plus 10, increase or decrease of the chance to pass a gene of your choice, or 1 large sacrificial bag to gain 15 increase or decrease of the chance to pass a gene on your toko. So it's just 1 gene.
The decrease is the other new part.
Oh, that's right. Also, we gave it a decrease. Apologies, I forgot about that. So now when you use Offering to the Gods, you could decrease. So you could use a large bag to decrease, like, graying, or marked, or seal. Or you can use the increase to increase moss, you know? So it's increase, decrease, and this. The reality is this trait's been around for a long time. It's complicated to use because of that concept of figuring out how much something is. It's more work than someone wants to put in for that bonus. We've just simplified it. The spirit of the trait is the same, and we added the decrease. What are they laughing at?
Leave my marked graying seals alone.
I refuse.
I agree with that. Graying seals are adorable.
Ugh. And then for bribery, what we've done is we went ahead and because it's got the same concept of you can like sacrifice items, we've gone ahead and made the small sacrificial bag usable on bribery as well. So the small bag works for bribery and the small bag works for offering to the gods. And that's as a consumable. That still works on CEs and PvPs. And did that get moved up to a 15?
I believe so.
Yeah, and for this one, because of change we've made to another trait further down the line here, bribery has gone from a +10 to a +15 for the small bag. Okay? There is no large bag equivalent for bribery. It's only the small bag. So that's the changes that we've made. Bribery itself was honestly okay, but given the change we made to another trait, it necessitated making a change to this trait, and while we were at it, we went ahead and just did the small sacrificial bag. Alright, and the last one I'm going to talk about before I pause for questions is Gold Digger. Yes, I know we just changed Gold Digger. I am aware we did it. But we've just decided to simplify it again even more.
Actually, it's got quite a nice little buff. I think.
Does. Its proc rate previously was like 3%.
5.
It was 5%. We've gone ahead and increased its proc rate to 7% because Lucky 7 gold, that is the entire reason behind that. And we've changed it from finding like different pouches to just the gilded pouch, right?
The gilded pouch used to just be a flat 10k TT.
Oh, excuse me. The gilded pouch was a flat 10k, and that's not the case anymore. So we've changed the gilded pouch. So Gold Digger is now 7% proc chance from 5%, and the gilded pouch is no longer 10k period. You get an equal chance openable with 2 to 3 items, and the items that will be in there is the you can get TT. You'll get 7,777. There's a lot of 7s here. TT, 2 golden doubloons. What do those come out at?
Those are 2k a piece, so that's like 4k.
That's about 4k. Or a gold nugget. That's right, golden nuggets that you can use in crafting to make things. So you'll have 2 to 3 items out of that, and it's equal chance, so it's not like you're more likely to get the gold nuggets or the TT, and it's not scaled rarity. So 33% chance at each of them. And that's the entire change we made to Gold Digger. We just changed how its openable worked, and we went ahead and increased its proc rate at the same time, because it was thematically appropriate. We were just, again...
We heard it was a little lackluster.
So many things generate TT, so now we're giving it the ability to generate gold or TT.
And the doubloons because thematic.
And the doubloons because it's thematic. But that's Gold Digger. And I have more, but I'm going to pause for questions.
Alright, we do have some.
Alright, go for it.
So 3 boon tokos is the max boost on shrine tokens. Boons will, like, Storm Boon, Nightmare Boon, all of those don't get the rarity boost. Aurora Boon is the one that will give you the rarity boost.
Yes, the other boons are not giving you any rarity boost. They have not previously, and they continue to not do so.
Yeah.
They just give you access to the shrine year-round. Only once they've been bonded.
But for rarity boost, yes, you currently I think we have 1 rarity boost available. Aurora Boon will now make 2, and we will shortly have a 3rd available.
Yes.
And there may be more down the line, but we're capping them
At 3 because the math just got weirder with the diminishing return aspect. But the diminishing return allows us to have multiple ways to handle it, because some of the issue we run into is when we've got like stacking rarities like that, at some point you end up with like a 50% rarity boost. That's too much! So we're diminishing return it so that we can have more from different places, because some people may want to go after the Toko, some people would rather have the totem that'll appear at some point in time, some people would rather stay in the faction. Yeah, I said it. Alright, what else we got?
Will the offering to the gods recipe be unlocked via recipes, or will you obtain the trait/bonded on account or just free recipe? Small is free, large will be a common.
Will be a common.
And that rolls right into the next question, which what ingredients will these sacrifice bags use? Would it be easier to make them purchasable of GT? We are going to do for the small, to keep it thematic to what it was, it'll be either one small pelt, one large pelt, one fish, one berry. That's hunting, fishing, explores, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so something like that. That will be the small. You use one of those to make the bag. And then for large, because it was previously companions, it will be companions.
You just need to use one companion.
We're not using a knife.
That was her idea, not mine. She says to me, hear me out here. She shows the small bag, which is like a fish, a pelt, and like, that makes sense. That's basically what someone was putting into it anyway. Mm-hmm. We're just making sure they can't lose it now. And then you also get like your beaver totem chance on it and things of that nature. Plus bonuses to, all that. And then she goes, and for the large pack, a companion and a knife. And I was like, messed up, done, but I'm not against the idea. So, no, it's just a companion. There's no knife. And that'll be a common unlock.
Yeah.
And these are completely tradable as well. They're not special to your account. Someone else could craft you a bag and send it along.
They're not going to be high, like, what is the word? It's not going to be like a rare recipe level of stuff to get this.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. Any companion works. So you can go pop a cheap one out of the TT store if you need to.
Mm-hmm. All right. Assuming Aurora Boon Toko also needs to be bonded in order to get access to the effect, will it be permanent once you've have a bonded Toko with it?
If you trade the Toko, you don't have the effect anymore. So you cannot get an Aurora, bond it to yourself, send it to your friend bonds it, and both of you have it. No, you need to maintain having the Toko.
I think the code checks every time you load the shrine.
Yes, the code checks every time you load the shrine. Anything else?
Nope, I don't see anything.
Okay, so that's Aurora, Bribery Offerings, and Gold Digger. So we're going to move on to Inspirational, Savage, and Silver Tongue. Dun-dun-dun. All right, Inspirational. Been a bit since we talked about this. Okay, here we go. For Inspirational, the change that we have made. If the Toko is depicted in AoAs, full body, all other Tokos are awarded an excellent score and get 1 FP no matter which prompts were completed. Must include in all 3 images. Only Tokos that are also owned by the owner are eligible for this bonus. So basically with Inspiration, we've gone ahead... Sorry, random dogs. With Inspirational, we've said that all the Tokos get excellent if they're in it with the Inspiration, and everyone gets the 1 FP regardless of which ROA you pick.
And if you're using Penguin and you don't do an ROA, you just do your ROM, ROF, you'll still get the FP.
Exactly. So even if you're using Penguin, you'll still get the 1 FP. So it's very much in the spirit of what it previously did. There were not a ton of Inspirationals in the system, so we've gone ahead and modified it a little.
Okay, we don't have a visual slide, but people are saying they're having a hard time following along. Do you want me to smash something together?
Like what?
I don't know, I guess we could just do the Tokopedia pages.
I mean, yeah, but I stand by, like... I'm not really sure how to visually show you guys this.
I mean, I guess you could open the UT Health thing, but it's going to be hard to read.
No, UT Health is too insane. So the new text is already up on the traits if you want to go to Tokopedia and look at them. I'm not showing anything on the screen right now.
Ree says we can just link. Thank you, Ree.
What did she link me?
No, Ree just linked the trait in chat for everybody. I think that'll work. Ree, you're brilliant. Ree is our lifesaver this year. MVP.
Okay. So she's linked that. We're good. That's in chatter. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. There we go. Okay, so that's Inspirational. So Inspirational, again, basically just gave you I think it was just excellent AoAs previously, yeah?
Which a lot of people pointed out was kind of useless if you've got, Ram Totem or an admin.
Well, yes, but this is going to surprise you guys because I have to bring it up every time we have these conversations. It's okay for multiple things to have the same bonus because plenty of new players will not have the totem. but having the Toko will be very, very achievable for them. So many things exist on many different levels of the game, because while many of us in this podcast are long-term players, there's tons of new and medium-term players who need to get the bonuses from different manners. So yes, inspirational was not super useful to everyone who's been here for 7 years, but it is really useful for you newer people.
But now it's useful. It's got a small buff for everybody's use.
Mm-hmm. And now it's got a tiny buff for everybody's use, which is all of that sweet FP. Remember, FP still expires. Even if you got it through inspirational, it still expires. Alrighty. Well, I can do this. Don't know how well this will work, but I can do this. Fear. Okay, that's just that. Here we go. What's the next one on my list?
Savage.
Savage. Okay.
Your tabs stress me out.
Let it go. They're just tabs. Are they harming you physically?
Yes.
That's a you problem. So
Everyone agrees with me.
you're all being dramatic. So, Savage. Savage allowed you to accidentally destroy a pelt or a fish. Whoa. And you would get a random exploring item in response. What we've changed is we've just made it a random, non-trash exploring item in response. Yes. So anything that's labeled as trash will not pop up. And I do believe that non-pelt or fish items will not be affected has been there from the start, but let me go ahead and re-clarify that. So if you pull an elemental heart in a fishing, you can't lose it to Savage. You never could. So you don't have to worry about leaving Savage off when you're searching for those items too. Okay? And that's all that we've done to Savage. Again, this was just one that's been around for a long time. It didn't have very high numbers in the system. It didn't have a lot of utilization. So we're giving it just a little bump. And a lot of these are just like a little bump. So you're guaranteed a non-trash exploring item. But it'll still be an exploring item. So that was Savage. And then I'll do Silver Tongue. I think these three were very
straightforward. Well, Silver Tongue we'll have to explain because some of those companions don't exist yet.
Yes. So, Silver Tongue. Previously, Silver Tongue functioned as Hunter, Fisher, Caver, Diver, Explorer as one trait. And that is I think it's like everything's worth 20% more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was everything's worth 20% more. And with Silver Tongue, you would do that for everything. Everything that you brought in was 20% more regardless of what you went through. The reality of that is, though, that all-rounders in activities they don't show up very often. They're not usually very good. And this is still technically an all-rounder because the bonus is better. It should probably be a little more popular.
Also, it can be used in conjunction with the bank totems.
Yes. Silver Tongue could not be used in conjunction with bank totems previously. Didn't work that way. But now, Silver Tongue is going to act as the Bobcat, Bison, Burrow, Python, Clownfish, Mustang?
Bison, Bobcat, Python, Burrow, Clownfish. Do we have too many on there?
Well, you've got a big and a little. Bison, Bobcat.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, come. So, Bison doubles the value of pelts. But it's only pelts. It's not everything. Large pelts. It's not everything you get in a large hunt. And Bobcat does the same, and Python doubles fish, but only fish, not everything. We're adding 3 more companions, Burrow, Clownfish, and Mustang.
I've got them right here.
Give me the first one.
Burrow is gems.
Burrow is gems. That means it doubles the value of gems in cavings.
Clownfish is coral.
Clownfish is coral, so it doubles the value of coral in divings. And Mustangs?
Is tack and exploration.
Is tack and exploration. So there's tons of tack that pops in explorations. This doubles the value of it when you're redeeming it. Like always, this will be when you are redeeming it to the bank. If you don't use it then, you won't get the double later. And these can be used in conjunction with totems, and now Hunter, Fisher, Caver, all of that as well. So we just changed how the bonus worked on this. It wasn't super popular. It's still going to give you a bonus. It's just now going to be these specific things doubled, because in Bison, Bobcat, and Python, if pythons existed more, would be a lot more popular, are already pretty popular, so this is taking their popular bonus and putting it on 1. You're still probably not going to have an all-rounder, but you can have more traits than you can companions, and this does the work of that companion for a single trait. Alright, and I think that's Silver Tongue. And again, these were all just because they've been around for a while, they're not really very popular, and we went ahead and just gave them a little bit of a boost.
For the companions, those are slated to go sometime in January. The art is commissioned out, so when we get them, they'll all 3 go up together.
Yes, as soon as we get the art for them, they'll go up. They're coming sometime in January. And on the majority of these UTs, there's 1 where we're keeping, there's 2 where we're going to have a grandfather time, but on most of these we're not. Like in Silver Tongue, we're not going to have one. For Trialist and the other one, we will. There'll be some grandfathering time. For these, no, we're just going to enact the change. There will be a feedback form. So even if you don't think of it right now, come on back over to the feedback form. You know how it is. I want to hear it good, bad, or ugly. Just don't scream it in my face.
Will Silver Tongue stack with the TT companions that it functions as? I believe
no.
Because
No.
that would get insane.
That would get way insane. No. It will save you a companion slot, is what it will do.
I want one of these on my cavers, quite honestly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it'll be great. Oh, how many gems do you pop in caving?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that Jasper.
So much Jasper.
And Tiger's Eye, the bane of the...
Imagine doubling a diamond's worth.
Oh, doubling a diamond? Double diamonds. Any others?
Don't see anybody typing. These ones were fairly straightforward, though.
Yes, these ones were very straightforward. I didn't expect too much. Alright, so let us move on to Tackmaster. Sorry, I had to go look in my thing. I know you're all staring at my screen, so I should really be careful about where I go.
I also have this all open. You can just ask me.
Never. I mean, I ask you all the time. Alright, so Tackmaster. We have changed it from including the crafted tack 1 by 1 to including an openable with your choice of one of the pieces of crafted tack relevant to its activity. So this has gone from I find a crafted bow and I find this and I find this in exploring to I find an exploring crafted tack bundle and then I can pick which one I want out of there. Just gives a little more usability. Again, Tackmaster, there's nothing particularly wrong with the trait, but remembering to upkeep the activities as new things come out, kind of hard to do.
So, certain pieces of crafted tack weren't findable with it, even though they should have been.
Exactly. I think like Shiny Lure was one of them. You couldn't find that.
Yeah. The legendary candles and lanterns are not findable with Tackmaster still. That remains true.
Yes, no legendaries. But all of those crafted bows, shiny lures, I think iridescent lure is the...
All the picks and all that jazz.
Yeah, all of those will be findable. It'll be easier for us to maintain these openables than it will be for us to constantly have to go into the activity roller. And this way it doesn't keep changing your odds of finding a specific piece of tack the more we add. It allows us to be like, it's one thing each. It's now the same odds across the board in every activity. And the openable is a choice one, so just pick the one you want. It doesn't hurt anything for you to be able to just pick the one you want. That does mean, with this change, though, that with the... If you constantly sold back your Tackmaster stuff, you can sell back the box and get a bonus, but you can't, like, sell the tack inside the box.
Because you have to redeem it and open
it. Open it, yes.
I don't know if the box is a sellback. I have to...
The box should probably have a sellback, which is, like, the average of the piece of tacks.
Let me go put that in our notes.
The box will have a relatively equivalent will either be like the lowest piece of tack or the average between them. Dunn and I will look at the numbers, crunch that, and have it in place. So you can at least get some bonus to just selling the box back if you don't want the tack.
Okay.
Alright.
Put that in our notes.
Which one's next?
Next one is Temperament, which is, again, very straightforward.
Temperament is extremely straightforward. Temperament was a +5. Now it is a +10. And it works in any group sanctioned competition. And this year, a couple months ago, we did that competitions rebalance on bonuses. So there's now sporting, racing, teamwork, performance. Working. So we did that where we made those 5 categories, and every single trait worked in one of those categories, or like every piece of tack and all of that worked in those categories. So this UT will work in every category, and it's the biggest bonus that works in every category, which is that plus 10. Not too crazy, just a bit of a buff to it. Some people do use their temperament. They're not super popular, but they are used more than like Trialist was.
This change is why Bribery went to a plus 15.
Yes, this changes why Bribery also went to a plus 15. So this is a plus 10, and you don't have to pay anything. You just get the 10. Bribery is a plus 15, but you have to pay. And I think there's a companion. Is it Coyote that works in everything?
Yeah, I think Coyote's plus 5.
Then there's a companion that works in everything, and it's a plus 5. So they're kind of like a scaling up, stacking thing. And to my knowledge, Bribery and Temperament do stack.
They do. CEs will have some updates at the start of the year that are in the news about their bonus cap, but it's very high, so those two aren't going to put you over it on their own.
Perfect. So, look at this right here. Performance, racing, sporting, teamwork, working. Hey, look, they were all right there if I would only read. We are working on CE forms. We're working on them.
Jill was almost done and then decided
had to start over.
Completely different. Better.
Well, yeah, because they'd be a pain otherwise for everybody. And the database. So, yes. So that's Temperament. And then is next Trialist.
Yep.
Okay, so...
Our poor Trialist.
Can anyone remember what Trialist did prior to today? Is it in the chat? Did anybody type? Yeah. So prior to today, Trialist was a much lesser version of Popular. Basically, you could be the extra Toko and I want to say AOAs, RODs, and POTAs. And you could be the extra Toko breaking the CE limit, but you were still using your entries a month, so you could use it like maybe 5 times a month.
It didn't work in Teamwork, and it didn't stack with Horse.
It didn't stack with Horse, it didn't work with Horse, and it didn't work in Teamwork. Whoa. Clearly I need to take a drink. And that's what it previously did. We spent a lot of time trying to make that better without breaking CEs. Literally up until last night, when I threw it down again, and when what we did isn't good enough. No. And then I finally had to reach out to Bitter, even though we had just been like, we're not going to ask everybody. We're just going to make changes that are best for the group. This one's a lot. I think I need to go talk to Bitter. So now, Trialist gives you a chance to find a Forge Gold medal when participating in continuous events. I think it's like 5%. It might change as time goes, as we need to up or down. Win, lose, as long as you're participating, you have about a 5% chance at finding a Forge Gold medal.
Also means Trialist now works with Horse Totem, because they don't do the same thing.
They now work with Horse Totem, because they don't do the same thing anymore. Because there's a possibility that people were drawing POTAs with their Trialist, which doesn't seem likely given there's only 17 of them. And I know mine's alpha. But given that there's about 17, there's a possibility that someone could have been drawing like their POTAs or their RODs, and they were doing them during December or November, and they're going to turn them in like January, February. We're going to go ahead and allow that power, these two powers, to exist for January, February. I'm not saying go use them as much as you possibly can. None of y'all have a Trialist. You can't. But if you had like pre-made art, you've got January, February to get it used, so you don't lose it. Because it would really suck for us on the first to be like, I know that you drew 10 CE or 5 CEs with this Trialist in December, but now you just don't get to use them. So CEs is agreed that they'll basically maintain both bonuses until February, at which point it'll just become the Forge Gold Medal bonus. Lots simpler to use. No limits involved other than the normal CE limits. We don't have to maintain 2 counts of anything.
We don't have to have the headache-inducing Oh, somebody asked if horse and Trilist stack in help chat. I don't remember. What was our reasoning on this?
Yeah. I know there's a reason. Who remembers what it was? So Trilist has taken it is the biggest, I feel like an argument can be made for the next one. It is probably the biggest departure from how it originally worked.
The next one still works as intended, but...
Yeah, but. There's a big but there.
There's a lot of changes, but it's still, again, like the others, the core is the same.
Yeah.
This is the biggest difference, I think.
Exactly. And I'll go ahead and take questions about Temperament, Trialist, and Tagmaster at this point. But yeah, these are all just, like I said, we're making these changes. We didn't run Temperament by the owner.
Actually, technically we did. Kira was in the conversation.
Oh, Kira was in the conversation, but regardless of what Kira was going to say, it was changing. So she rolled with it.
Hello, Kira. Have a buff.
Yeah, same thing happened to Azlua. And the way that we did this, so everybody knows, is we took the grand total of how many exist in the system when it was created, and we used that, like the comparison there, to determine what was popular and what wasn't popular. Because even if something had, like, a low number, but it had only been out 3 months, we didn't do anything to it. Mm-hmm. But if something's been out for, like, 3 years, and there's less than 20, clearly it's not a desirable trait. And when we went and looked at some of them, like, I understand I'm mocking Trilist a lot, but Trilist wasn't the smallest number, by the way.
What was our smallest number?
It might have been Silvertongue. Well, I mean Aurora, but...
No, Aurora doesn't exist. Actually, no, Trilist is the smallest, because Middle Child and Fast Friend are smaller, but are newer.
Smaller, but are newer. Okay, I lied. Trilist wasn't. That's why it's the one's getting bashed on so much right now. I think it's way cooler. My Toko will bring me so many medals now.
Oh, here's a good example. Blessed Union has 17, but is only not even a year old.
Yes. Like Blessed Union only is 17, but it's not a year old. So, words. I had words. But we looked at this, and we used that to determine which ones weren't very popular, which ones weren't very powerful. Every trait doesn't need to be as, and I air quote this, game-breaking as popular. But it also should probably be better than Caver.
Yeah. Silvertongue.
Silvertongue. I'll mock Silvertongue.
Thematically, when we made it, I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense. That's brilliant. But it just doesn't, it's not useful.
I was offered Silvertongue as a bonus when I was getting Radiant, and I said no.
Were you?
Yeah, I didn't want it.
Oh my god, I just remember Crazy Cat Lady.
Oh yeah, Crazy Cat Lady. That one wasn't happening either. They were like, you can have...
I think it's +1 companion slots for a cat companion.
No, they said no to that. I couldn't have that. It was something else.
Or was it boosting the effectiveness of cat companions? Which doesn't really make sense because we had Domestic Cat and Black Cat at the time.
Exactly. So I was like, so just boost Black Cat? Because cave lines didn't count. It was an intense process to get a UT created, especially if you were daring for an activity one, okay? Azlua dealt with most of us.
Not you, though.
Not me. I got Morgan. Azlua was the one who came in, and I think it was like the 9-month mark, I finally know the group, and was like, can I just sell my unique trait? Because I'm really sick of waiting. And then Azlua was like, okay, let me just handle you.
Oh my gosh. I don't have any questions being typed if you want to move on to our thing, and I will go prepare the bomb shelter.
Okay, so last one, which some of you probably found already.
Do you want that, or do you want the guide?
I probably want the guide.
Okay.
I can get the guide, whatever. They can see the back.
Okay.
You can't go. Try it. You won't get fucking in. Enjoy the spoilers. Here we go.
My head at you.
We're changing Shapeshifter. Now, Shapeshifter, thankfully, was group owned. So with the level of changes we're making, we get to walk away fairly guilt-free. There are a significant amount of shapeshifters in the game. There's like 70, 80?
I'm gonna go look. Shapeshifter had... Oh man, where's Shapeshifter? 107.
There's 107. Do you know how many of them are actually being used? Less than 10. I myself have one that I have literally never used.
I think yours is alpha, but only by virtue of getting a Potopack once.
Yes, by virtue of a Potopack. Dunn actually has some she attempts to use. But Shapeshifter functionally is a cool to have, but not to use trait. And that's just the nature of you can't use it for anything that matters to group progress. You can use it for HP. And that's it. And there's so many that exist because of the lore event. And that was one of the big prizes. So a bunch of people grabbed it. So there's I want to say 70 or so people who got it out of lore. Mm-hmm. And then they bred it a few times because their friends wanted it. And then in about 3 months, the realization set in on everybody that you couldn't really use it for anything. So people stopped breeding for it. People stopped using it. That's just the truth of how that is. So some people know this is coming because you were in the general chat when I came around asking. The admins were in the admin chat when these bombshells were going off as we tried to come up with an idea. And I think this is one of the few times it wasn't Dunn saying, stay with me. It was Jill going, okay, but hear me out.
Yeah.
Which is just as dangerous as stay with me.
More dangerous.
And I asked everyone to come with an open hand, and I presented an idea. And there was back and forth on this idea. People brought up good points in both directions. And then we put a vote in place, actually. And there was 4 options in this vote. One is we don't do anything. We don't change anything. 2 is we keep Shapeshifters as is, but we include it to be able to use in bonding. I think that was the change. Mm-hmm. And then came the 2 really big options. 1 is, or technically 3, we allow Shapeshifter to be used everywhere in the game. We allow it to be used in activities. We allow it to be used in rights. We allow it to be used in HP. We allow it to be used in CEs, bonding, taming, everything. However, it has to be a hard-linked ref, which means you have to actually make a ref for it, turn it into a thread, and we have to upload it onto one of our mule accounts, and you have to link to that ref every time you use it so the admin doesn't have to go find it. You have to take the onus on yourself of putting it on the forums for us so that we know to go and find it. Because it's uploaded in the right spot, we know that that's your reference. And it had to continue following the rules of... it has to have all the markings present. You can't remove markings. You can't make like a limbless creature to super simplify what you're doing. And this is the one that actually where the contention was. It's supposed to be an animal. Humans are not animals in this situation. So it needs to be an actual animal. And then there was the little back and forth. Well, do fantasy animal count? Well, I don't see why you can't have a dragon, but no, you can't have a centaur. That sort of stuff. And then the 4th option... was we allow humans. However, every department has to sign up for if they're willing to accept this at that point. And we knew up front that activities said if there's humans, no. They don't want to deal with judging them. And I think HU also didn't want to deal with human judging.
They've had some
They've
struggles this year.
Already had struggles this year due to the lack of clarification. On the trait from the beginning, it said 1 animal. But HU was allowing humans through. It was struggling really hard to judge them.
Or no, HU was allowing it for the POTA prompt.
Oh.
The POTA prompts were there.
Oh, okay. It was the POTA prompt? Okay. I missed that. I thought they said they'd allowed it through for
yeah, Shapeshifter wasn't allowed in rights either.
Yeah.
So useless.
So, of these, there was a big vote. And option 3 won. Which is, we're going to allow Shapeshifter to be used in everything. But we're going to enforce the restrictions on it, and we've built a guide for doing this, which I'm going to go over in detail right now, and then your feedback. 1, I'll take questions, right? I'll take questions as soon as I'm done, and 2, feedback form. How you feel, reasons, all that, off to the feedback form. Tell me all about it. I have conversations in feedback forms when people post things in there. It's not like you drop it in a bucket and never look at it. If I have something to say to you, I'll say it, and we will have a conversation. I just keep them all in one place so I don't have to go find them later. Alright, so shapeshifters may be depicted in 1 alternate animal form. The conversation is going to start, but humans are animals. Not in the context of Tokotas, because if you go over to our handler guide, we specify... It can be human, animal, what was it called? We called them feral handlers. You could have human, anthropomorphic, or feral handlers. In Handler's Guide, we specified there was a difference there, and we allowed both. Over here, it's always said one animal form, which means we're not doing anthropomorphics and we're not doing humans. And while we will totally allow mystical, magical fantasy creatures, we're not allowing humanoid fantasy creatures the same way we're not allowing humanoids. Okay? So, their markings must still be depicted and recognizable in their entirety. So if you are piebald with a mark above the eye, it's piebald with a mark above the eye. If you have a genobomb with 100 colors, it needs to be a genobomb with 100 colors. You can't remove markings. The entirety needs to be there. Physical traits, we've never required you to be depicted with the physical traits anyway. That doesn't change. And form must meet all size, species, and complexity restrictions explained below. And below, I've gone into it in a little more detail. I'll read this aloud. Shapeshifter forms do not have a maximum size, but they do have a minimum size. Alternate forms may not be smaller than the minimum depicted on the size chart below. If chosen form is usually smaller than the minimum, then you may scale it up to make a version of that animal. For example, such as the shapeshifter's alternate form is a hummingbird. Then it would be a giant hummingbird that meets all other rules of species and complexity. Regardless of their actual size, when using an alternate form in rites, activities, or any other mission that requires them to be the active focal point of the image, the shapeshifter should not be hidden or a minor addition to the image. They need to remain relevant as if they were depicted in their standard form. So, for size, we're not going to do little snails or little ants. Little dogs, as long as it's a dog, like we can see it, it's a thing. Yeah, that's fine. And then some people are like, oh, but handler rules. Like, oh, what if I want a big dragon? You can have a big dragon, but if you're doing an activity, we still have to have a full background. We still have to have the prey and the fish and all of that. And you can have your dragon. So we went ahead and just said, no worries on the maximum so that you can go bigger than we would normally. Because handlers, the rules exist for rideability. That's not an issue here. So you can make your handler bigger, you just can't make it so small. Sorry. Your shapeshifter, you can't make it so small that it's like a tiny little snail on a branch. The goal of shapeshifter is to allow you to draw it in an alternate form that's fun, not to make it less work for you to do activities. And we're just be honest about that. So that's on sizing. We're going ahead and using this so you can see it, but you can make them bigger than this. We'll see if we can get our own like special shapeshifter chart.
Red sent me the PSD. I just can't find it in my pile of download folder.
Okay. Well, we'll ask Red again. So that's where it stands on size. There is a minimum. It's the same as the handler. There is no maximum. And because we are going to allow fantasy-esque creatures, if you really want a hummingbird, which is usually tiny, you can make a Toki-sized hummingbird. That's cool. Have fun. It's a fantasy animal as far as I'm concerned. I bet we could find something in some lore somewhere. Next, we're going to move on to complexity. Complexity is actually really small. There's not a lot going on here. Shapeshifter forms require complexity comparable to that of a Tokota. The forms may not be overly simplified or limbless, and colorations must be identifiable as the Tokota. Departmental rules will still apply, such as alternate forms and activities will be expected to adhere to the rules listed in the activity's visual guide. Exactly what I just said. It can't be used as the prey either. So if you make a deer, you've got an albino toko that's a deer, it can't also play the part of the prey. There needs to be 2 deer in there, and they got to be able to tell them apart. If activities looks at it and they can't tell which deer is the deer and which deer is the toko, they will kick you. They've been given permission to do that. It's the same thing that happens if you have 6 albinos in an image right now and we can't tell which one is which. We can deny it because we need to be able to tell them apart. That's why so many albinos have hand paints for those moments. All of that will continue to hold true. So it can't be the fish in the image, it can't be the prey in the image.
It can be in those forms, but you still got to have your fish or prey requirement for activities.
Yes. Shapeshifter is about drawing it in another form that you find fun, not doing less work in activities. And finally, species. Shapeshifter forms may be any realistic or fantasy animal such as a dog or a dragon. They must be a living, biological creature. not a zombie or robot version of that animal. However, the following species are prohibited as shapeshifter forms. Limbless animals, such as worms or snakes. I believe somebody's got a, armed snake creature for a tribe thing.
It's Raiders of the Lost. They have a snake that's got arms, kind of like a lindworm.
Okay, so if it's like a snake with arms, well, it's got arms at that point. It just needs, like I said, hit complexity above. Species has just got to have enough complexity to be comparable to a Tokota. Humans, humanoids, and anthropomorphics. This includes creatures with human features such as centaurs, satyrs, and mythological sphinxes. And then, of course, copyrighted characters and species. Pokemon, Digimon, other ARPG species. Alternate forms may not be used to double dip between games. Depending on the severity of rule breaking, all HP will be revoked and more action may be taken. You can't shapeshift your Toko into a Felvarg and then go play in both games getting rolls for both of them. When we find out you did it, we're going to void all of that HP, and if we find out you've been doing it for 2 years and we just hadn't noticed yet, you'll also get banned for a while. Please don't do it. Don't double dip like that. We wouldn't love it if someone else was doing it to our game. We don't want to do it to their games. So, no double dipping.
Obviously, if you draw a picture with a Felvarg and a Toko, and that goes into both groups, that's fine.
Completely fine.
But you can't just draw the Toko as a Felvarg and vice versa, and yeah.
Yes. Yep. We used to see it all the time. I think there was someone who was doing Strix, Fells, Kitsu, and Tokos all in the same image. And I was like, have fun.
Mizzy and Lexi did us a Potopack with that. It was so much HP, it was glorious.
Oh, so much HP. So, yes, that's fine. They just can't be the same creature. The same way it can't be its own prey, it can't be its own affiliate.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. I should go update that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Calling you out with love.
Yeah, with love. You weren't breaking any rules. So much HP. And then as far as registering forms go, you need to create a colored ref on one of the free import backgrounds. So that's our glacier, our snowy mountains, our stable, our coastal, any of our free ones. Just draw the ref on there. Try and get the size as accurate as you can. We're not going to be very nitpicky about it.
We're not nitpicking shading or flat color or any of that.
No,
style.
There is no style, quality restrictions on this at all. You draw what you want to draw, or you calm what you want to calm. The only thing is, you need to have, same way that we do for the companion skins, you need to have proof we're allowed to upload it. So that we know that we have permission to upload it.
So no photo manips or any of that jazz.
Yeah, no photo manips may be used for this. And we will not provide compensation for your commissions. So, even though it's getting uploaded to our gallery, unlike tribe deities, where we will pay to put it up, because tribe deities may end up getting used in lore. Tribe deities may end up...
Not deities, you're thinking of backgrounds.
Sorry, tribe backgrounds will be up for everyone to use. That's why we compensate those. That is not the case on these. We will not provide compensation. But we just need to make sure we have explicit right to upload it.
I think the thought is to put them on Totem Spirit now. We may change our minds and use a different mule, but it'll be listed here which mule is the appropriate one.
Exactly. And there will be a form in the account management that you can put it on, a thread, and there'll be a little form that you put here. Yes, no, let us know. We'll approve it or request corrections for whatever reason, such as if you try and slyly give us a Charmander, we're going to tell you no. But if you draw a cool dragon and you want to put up, yeah, sure, no problem. We'll put it up, it'll be linked, and then you can start using it everywhere from there. We'll try and keep up on that as best we can. And the last thing on here is, I know there's some people who have had human forms anyway that they've been using for HP. Anything that was drawn in a human form prior to today, so this will... Tomorrow, technically. So starting on anything done before January 1st, 2023, you'll still get the HP. We'll grandfather that HP, and we're not going to take it away from you. If we previously allowed that HP, we're going to continue to allow that HP. We're not going to cost it to you. It's just you won't be able to use it going forward.
You can't go register that form in account management to be officially uploaded.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing with Shapeshifter. Okay. Oh, let me go ahead and hide my screen once more. Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and say, while we're asking for questions, which I suspect we'll have one or two, let's kick off the raffle.
Okay, you do have plenty of questions.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to kick the raffle off. So go to podcast channel and either tell me your favorite...
podcast, raffle entries.
The raffle entries channel, and tell me your favorite UT in general or your favorite one that's been changed today. I mean, if you really need to tell me your least favorite, I suppose I'll accept it, but I would prefer your favorite. And the winner of the raffle, I'll tell you in a minute, because I have grand plans that Dunn won't be able to stop. Once I say it aloud, you can't change it. You can't stop it from happening. Alrighty.
I don't know about this.
Alright. So shapeshifter questions.
Alright. Can the shapeshifter wear clothes and behave humanistically, i.e. I have a giant raccoon with clothes that work as a shapeshifter form? It's still kind of Toko rules. I think there's something in the activities visual guide for that. Let me go take a look.
Dunn's checking. It still needs to be a Toko.
Here we go. How do we jump to this section? It's in the middle of rules and info.
And I think a raccoon wearing clothes would kind of fall more into that anthropomorphic land.
Yeah, here's a good example. I'm going to snip it out of the visual guide and I'll post it as a reply.
Thank you.
But it's like... You can't make a tanuki like this.
No.
So activities would not accept that on the left, the clothes and the holding the things.
Yeah. Okay, so she's got a great one off of the activities thing. Those rules will still apply to your shapeshifter. Every other rule in the game continues to apply to your shapeshifter.
I don't know if like HU or HP will particularly care, but like in activities they won't take it.
Yeah, they won't. And they wouldn't take a Toko doing it, so it's not specific to a Tanuki.
Just shot in the dark that it's about a Tanuki.
It's a raccoon wearing clothes. Decent shot in the dark, it's a Tanuki.
Alright, what about aquatic shapeshifters? For example, a shapeshifter that turns into an orc or a giant catfish. Well, that's actually why we specified limbless.
Yeah.
Those aren't technically limbless.
They're not technically limbless. You can do aquatic ones. It just needs to have some level of complexity. You can't just draw a blob and call it good.
It has to have the fins and the tail and everything.
Exactly. It has to have all of the appropriate features to keep the complexity level in place.
Yeah, that's why we specifically called out worms and snakes as our limbless.
Yes.
Because catfish have fins.
And whiskers and
fins.
lips and lots of weirdness.
Mm-hmm. Lots of
Yeah.
Lots of creepiness.
Lots of creepiness in the catfish there.
So tasty though.
Speaking of, I guess mine decided to put his head back down.
I guess he did. What if that game allows that type of thing like Rixie? Ixies can shapeshift with an earnable skill. I may be wrong about rollability. If they take it, cool, but we are not.
But we don't. Yeah.
It's not fair for you to get rewarded twice for doing the same work as somebody else who only gets rewarded once. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
You might say it better than that.
It's not fair that you've gotten 2 sets of successes from one image, where everyone else would have only gotten 1. So you can't double dip, and just because it's allowed in another game doesn't mean we have to accept it in our game. We've done this before with like photo manips. Other games have different rules of allowing them or not allowing them. And just because we've allowed photo manips here, I'm pretty sure that there's a ton of other games that straight up say no. And you couldn't go to one of them and say, but Toko's allows my photo manip, so why can't I do it over here? We're different games.
What about just normal horse breeds and enter into a horse show through an HARPG group with said shapeshifter Toko?
You can't double dip.
The goal for shapeshifters is to let you enjoy Tokos drawing other things. We all get tired of drawing the same wolf bear dog sometimes.
Yes.
It's not the goal to make it so you can play 2 games at once.
Yeah, the goal of shapeshifter is not so you can play 2 games at once with half of the art.
And that's been the way from day one, because the first time it came up, I was like, cool, I'm going to make my Toko a Kitsu. Is that fine? Because Kitsu also has had shape-shifting rules.
Mm-hmm.
And we had shape-shifting rules then. And we were like, you know what? No, that's not...
It's not
not
fair.
The spirit of what we want to do.
Exactly.
Let's see. How does the shapeshifter not wearing clothes apply to Tokuin dress-up contests or the like?
There's a difference between putting your dog in a superhero cape and your dog being Superman.
It's a very fine line, Jill.
It is.
Crypto the super dog.
It's one of those crappy things. It's kind of like what I think it's Amazon says about porn. We'll know it when we see it.
Wow.
What? It's true.
You are on a Toko podcast.
That's not a bad word. Get over it. But it's kind of like, we'll know it when we see it. A Tokoween thing in a Tokoween entry, those also aren't activity roles. So...
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it.
Yeah, they're also not activity roles. So we're going to look at, if everyone's dressed up as Sugar Plum Fairies for Tokoween, we're not going to dock somebody for dressing up as a Sugar Plum Fairy and dressing their dog up as a Sugar Plum Fairy.
And I mean, like, you can, obviously, like, there are Tokos with clothes and stuff.
Oh,
like,
Tokos wear hats all the time.
Jackets. Like, I've got my big fluffy vampire dyer with one.
People put jackets and they put hats on, and that's, like, not a big deal. But it does still look like a dog wearing a hat. It doesn't look like a person wearing a hat. If you think about, like, Novak and his goggles. Novak has goggles, whether on the top of his head or whether they're on his eyes. He still looks like a Toko. He still acts like a Toko wearing goggles. He doesn't suddenly become a pilot because we transformed him into a bear. I know he's not a shapeshifter. It's just, he had the most, like, memorable thing I could remember at the time. Poor Dun's dying.
A bear. Whew, okay. Do you have to create a reference for a shapeshifter, or can you just use them as a Toko?
Nope, not at all. You don't have to create any sort of reference. If you never want to shapeshift them, you don't have to. Yeah. This is purely if you want to use that form.
This is trying to open up the ability for you to do it.
Exactly. If you don't make a reference, cool. You also can't use it in activities, rights, and blah in a different form, but you do not have to. It's an optional. Mm-hmm. You can have a gold digger that you literally never put in an activity. Same thing.
Yeah. Whew. Okay. I don't see anybody else typing. I think that's shapeshifter.
Okay, cool. Then I will go ahead and do the last thing I have about UTs. And then we'll probably close up that raffle in 3 minutes.
Okay, while you do that, I'm going to go start the feedback form for UT Rebalance.
Thank you.
Is this UT Rebalance?
It's not really a rebalance. Rebalance says I took things away. I didn't take anything away.
UT Update feedback?
This is UT Updates. Got to brand these things correctly so that they know there was some give if I say rebalance. And then we're going to try something new with the new year. There's a ton of player-owned UTs out there, and it comes up all the time of, can't I get popular? No, friend, you can't get a popular off of us. We don't own the popular. But what we're going to do, and technically 3 people, but 4 Tokos, have signed up to do this already. We're going to do starters of player-owned traits. Radiant, Scriptum, Elemental Expansion, and Finders Keepers are the 4 that have signed up. And the way that it's going to work is basically there will be, if we talk about Radiant, mine, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. That's fine. So Tokos will make a starter, and my girl will be the mother of that girl to continue that direct lineage that you need for UTs. And then the group owns that Radiant, and they'll be able to put them in any sort of lineage they need or anything of that nature. And I'm at peace with this.
Starter slots, Thread of Fate.
Starter slots, Thread of Fate, all that normal stuff. And then the group has the ability to put Radiant on things at that point. We opened it up. We asked admins, hey, do you want to do it? And the people were like, yeah, I'm okay with that. They dropped theirs. We're not forcing anybody to do it. We're opening up the option for it. You have to own the founder to be the one that says it, because that's the one that's going to appear in the lineages, obviously. So I said, yeah, on Arumi, no problem. Obviously, that means that this Toko is going to have Arumi's lineage on half of it. It's not just Arumi and then nothing. Mm-hmm. So that is the thing about those. They will have half a lineage to contend with. The other half will be empty. But Radiant, Scriptum, Elemental Expansion, and Finders Keepers, we are working on the UT starters for those now. Those are the ones that people have said, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So thanks to Saf and Kex on those. And we'll put them up when we've got them. Hopefully we get them in time for open. If not, we'll drop them mid-month, whatever. We'll get them up for you. And then they'll be able to appear and all of that. And that way the group will be able to use those traits regardless of not being the founder of those traits.
If you own a UT founder and you want to offer up your UT for this, note the main group.
Yeah, note the main group.
But something I talked about with other people when we were having this conversation, if you're not sure, don't do it, because it's a lot harder to undo this.
Yeah, we can't undo it if you do it. But you can ask us 6 months from now and we'll still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm at peace with it. Arumi doesn't have a great lineage. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, and we'll just make a Toko from there. I have the 4 of them in process right now. And did I ask for Arumi's to be the same color red she is to force Cray into having a color starter? Yeah, I did. It's too late now.
Cray is going to knife you.
Yeah, I can handle Cray's knives, okay? So, that's what's going on with those. And then go ahead and close my raffle up.
Alright. Ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh my god, there's so many entries.
She's giving me a dirty look right now. In chat. I can see it.
I'm sorry, Cray, I didn't know.
It's too late. You have another color to contend with. Everyone thinks she's like Melisandre, I think, red. And I'm like, nope. Technically came from Epona somehow.
Epona's marked? Nope. It's called color or base blending.
I think it was base blending, yeah. Alright. So... yeah, I know. I know, man. I've seen those too many reds. Dune's counting right now.
Fuck, you threw me off.
Just roll 2 winners when you get to the end.
For what? What am I rolling?
I'll tell you after you roll them.
You should really hire Cray somebody to make her swatches so she doesn't have to do all this work that we shove on her.
I mean, I have no issue with hiring Cray somebody specifically to do guides and swatches. Hire a part-time admin. That's what I did.
Fuck, I keep losing track because I'm talking to you.
Stop talking to me. But yeah. Like, Cray, do you want me to go and hire you a part-time admin specifically for doing color swatches and making guides, and that's their entire job, and they just need part-time quota? I did that for a world tour. We got a lot more done.
Fuck.
Oh my gosh, done. Not every single one of the special bases has a thing, though, friend. So, we can't always link them back to everything. I did kill her. I did. Done can't
I've
even.
gone Biz to get help.
Okay, good.
I can't get past 5 right now.
Dun's dying over here. She is beet red, cracking up, unable to do anything. Alrighty, so, I guess... where did you...
My face hurts.
Let me go. Yeah, no, I'm saying no on the import itself for that exact reason. Because we don't always know what everything is. Just because you color picked off a parent doesn't mean it's an official special base coat. And we don't want to have to suddenly maintain hundreds of them at a time.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So... We also have a stampede coming soon of many horses. Did I get a lot of horse companions to make Azlua feel better about what I did with Shapeshifter? Yes. Yes, I did. But, she agreed to allow you to have your shapeshifters and activities. So, many horses for the game. These guys all have, they all have, bonuses.
Center doesn't have a bonus yet. But Center is because Cray's gonna murder us. See, we made his Lua feel better, and now Cray's gonna just be, like, out to get us.
Yeah, probably. Most of these have a bonus. The center one still needs one, but we have plans. So there's many different sorts of fun horses in lots of different colors. I think Fantasy did most of them, and did Saf do one?
Saf did the one in the center, which is the one that doesn't have the bonus yet.
Yes.
Oh, my face. My face.
Yes. All right. You got a win for me yet?
No, I don't.
Oh, these are all CE bonuses? No.
Yeah,
yes.
I just started counting again. Oh my god. They're CE collab bonuses.
Oh.
Oh my.
Are you okay here? Done.
Can you just hit me up?
What is this? Oh, okay. Is that our burrow? Okay. Done. Do I seriously have to go with someone else to roll this raffle?
Can is counting.
Thank you, Can.
Can and Copper are counting. Okay.
And Copper. Thank you both. Okay.
Why am I useless at this today?
I don't know why you're so useless at this today. You're just making it even easier for me to do things like...
Okay.
Also, here's our new wrinkle starters. It's that point of the podcast where we do all the spoilers. Aren't they cute? I think they're adorable. I have 2 wrinkle starters. They'll be going up because Wrinkle will be releasing in January. And I did get 90% of the physical traits for it already, and I think I'll get the other 10% today.
I think we might have them all. We just need to get them all compiled.
Okay,
There's
so...
a small fix going on the Dakino, but that's it.
Yeah. So, we'll have Wrinkle and all their physical traits for January. It is in the roller already. They're there. And Wrinkle is not... We're not doing any more of that crazy, like, Tokotas stuff where we hold back mains on certain builds. Nope. It's all going to be there. How's that going?
They're counting. I think I have 2.
I do like that one with the hat, Tina. I'm not going to lie. Oh, you know what? These are like uber spoilers. Why not?
We just got those.
And?
Jill.
And? Oop, that's code. Look at the cute little burrow. And there's one with a hat. Silly hat. Now's your moment to take screenshots. I'll count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. Okay.
Cause and Fleet.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Cause, you run a Wrinkle semi-custom. And Fleet, you run a Crested semi-custom. Congrats. Yeah, it was code. It was very much code. Also, these are our new Crested starters. I'm going to see if anybody notices yet the weirdness here. And by weirdness, I mean good.
Okay, I'm going to write those up. Please behave while I go write up these semi-customs.
What, you think I have any spoilers left?
Never know with you.
But yes, so here on the Crested, if you'll notice, the one in the back, the Tokotas, this girl, I think, yeah, this girl here, she has like the normal fur pattern going on. I believe she's also a Harlequin, so she's going to be a Crested Harlequin Tokotas. And then up here on the Toki, you'll notice that there's actually a skin on the Toki. So Crested is going to have 2 different ways that you can color them. One, you can do like the whole normal Toko, nothing special about it, just color it. And on the second one, you can do the non-fluff spots. You can do skin tone. And the model skin is allowed. That's what you're looking at here. So the model kind of feels a little bit like that Merle that's going on there. I believe it's the skin tones guide that's been updated with it. When we release...
It will be updated.
When we release the news, we'll have a link to the guide that's been updated with how this works exactly. This is special to Crested only, because Crested is the very rare, I think, in the...
Less textured.
Yeah, less textured. Yeah, it's less textured. But Crested will also be releasing in January. Got a caveat in Crested.
Cause Wrinkle Fleet is Crested.
Yeah, because I said so. If they decide to switch, I don't care.
Okay.
So, with Crested, there is a caveat. I didn't get to the physical traits for Crested yet. As soon as the people who are doing the Wrinkle ones are done, I'm going to turn around and offer them more money to go and do the Crested ones for me. So the way that that's going to work is you can still 100% put your Crested Tokos up without their physical traits. You can do them as carried, whatever, you can put them up. If you want to do like fangs or claws, they kind of fit into place a little easy, so you can like fit those yourself. But ears and tails and Roman noses, they're gonna have, well, actually Roman nose I think on this one will fit in place. So I think you can fit a Roman nose too, because I don't think there's gonna be any changes to the line art for those. So anything that doesn't require line art change, you can fit yourself and you can put it up if you want. But the tails, the ears, those ones, cheek fluff, I think that's the other one. So all of those, they're going to have to wait on us getting it. We're going to do our best to have it up by February. But you can still put your Crested up without it. We won't stop you from putting a Crested up. Just know that you're not going to have those physical traits yet. Can I make custom physical traits for a semi if I want him with large items?
I mean, I guess DC would just have to eyeball it, and they'd be the ones signing off on physical traits at the end anyway.
I mean, you can give it a shot. DC is going to be the ones who are like signing off on this in the very end. So there's a chance that you can just put it up and they'll be like, yeah, that's fine, because they're just going to treat it like a pair of custom tall ears anyway. But yeah. Oh,
yeah, we got questions.
We got questions? Okay, cool. I'll happily take those questions.
Okay. Does this mean there may never be a Brother Bear group starter? I believe Dash deactivated. We checked last night.
It does kind of mean that.
Unless somebody can get a hold of Dash and have her, like, email us permission.
Yeah, unless somebody knows how to get a hold of, like, Dash and ask Dash, and Dash shows up magically. You all know what my Discord is. If you know somebody and they want to reach out, I've got 2 people in the... No, that's not fair. There's 3 now. I blocked Kit. I have 3 people in the world blocked on Discord. Everyone else I'll talk to. So, if somebody knows Dash, and Dash wants to email us or reach out in Discord and be like, yeah, I don't care, awesome. But I don't know Dash, and I'm not going to go hunt Dash down off DA. Yeah. That's a little creepy.
It's one thing when Bitter isn't active in Tokos, but Bitter is still around on
yes.
DA, and we have a rapport.
Exactly. I'd spoken to Bitter many times before, in fact, about the trait the last time we tried to buff it. And so I reached out to Bitter because we'd had previous communication. They're still on DA. They're still on Discord. They were very receptive to having a conversation about it. Just caught up with each other's lives for a little bit. But, like, I don't know Dash personally, so I'm not going to go hunt them down. If somebody does, awesome. But that's kind of like, that alone is the entire issue we've been having with UTs. So it's why we've put the disclaimer in place that we'll change things as we want to. As we need to. That's a better way to say that. Want to is meh.
Is an albino crested possible to have the main parts albino white and the skin parts look non-albino like? I believe it just follows the albino skin tone color rules.
I think it just follows the albino skin tone color rules.
Yeah. I didn't see any exceptions in it in the guide that went through DC.
I didn't see exceptions either. DC will update that if there is.
can we... Okay, this is kind of what we talked about in Twitch, but can we do custom edits for the crested physical traits, i.e. custom flop ears?
I think so. I think you can. DC is going to have to okay them. And obviously, because we don't have the official ones yet, you have no guidance on what's going to get you a yes or a no. So you're kind of playing with a little bit of fire there. Most of you who make those custom edits, you know how this works. You're going to be just fine. You're going to base them off of the ones that exist, and everything will be fine. I'm just not promising your customs will go through.
Yeah. We are prioritizing them through January, and if we get them done mid-month, we drop them mid-month.
Yeah, I'll drop them as soon as they're available.
It's just, we had a lot of stuff in December. My list might have been a touch longer than I realized.
Yeah, it was done. Yeah, it was.
You did UTs on your own.
I did. This was an entire project you were not aware was happening until it happened.
If we get a crested in a breed and has physical traits, can we upload it as carried and then add it once they are finished for free? I think it's, what is it, the trinket? The Zoko's trinket?
There's an item for that called Zoko's trinket. You just buy it for TT.
I think it's like 2K TT.
It's like 2K. It's the extent of, that's all you need for the item import, and then you can pop them from carried to visible.
Are the combos for the new mains listed anywhere yet? The new Tokopedia pages will be appearing over the course of like tonight and tomorrow. As you saw in the back room, there's a bunch that are hidden because they're
in progress, and one of them is the new mains page. But as far as like the combos go, that'll be the main families. We're adhering to the main families that were on the previous podcast. So if you go pull that PowerPoint, you'll be able to see what the main families are, and the rarities in the main families did stay. From that, we actually only made like a couple changes. Mm-hmm. I spent 2 weeks begging people for feedback, and then someone said, take the silence as a win. And I went, okay. So for those, we did a few minor changes. Do you recall what those minor changes were? No, Dunn does not.
Wait, what?
The minor changes we made to the breeding rebounds. Do you recall what they were? We have them written down somewhere.
Yeah, they're in your gigantic thread with Secret and Re.
Yeah. They're minor.
Do we not have a thread for...
We had a thread for what?
Or apparently, do we not have a slide calling out the families for all of these? I thought we did.
No, I think Secret's saying the slideshow does not specifically call out the... Yeah, it's that change. Where you have an equal shot at the families, and then the families split things up from there. That was the change that Secret... the main calculator has the correct numbers, so you can see it in the main calc. Which everybody's seen the main calculator at this point, yes? Okay, just to be safe. We'll do the thing again.
Such a dangerous thing.
Whatever, I'm being safe. Main calculator, right here. Here's the main calculator. You'll see that Crest and Wrinkle are in the list. There's a way to do it with unreleased mains. That would be the mains that are coming later. So if I can do like a long main with a short main, this will show me all of my things there. I should do different.
Do a long and a razor?
Yeah, a long and a razor. So here you can see it's split in half by family, and if I were to turn those on, you can see that it's Silky got half the odds, and then Half and Caribou split their half of the odds, because it's by family.
Those would be dogs barking scry.
Yeah, our neighbor has like 7 dogs. That might be a low estimate. Yeah. 3 or 4 times a day, they just come out back screaming their heads off. But see, that's what we're talking about. And then when we need them to be even, it takes away from the common odds. Alrighty. Cool. Other questions?
Do I see anybody typing? I think we got everybody. Oh wait, no, I lied. Do we have a garden update to celebrate the new year? Actually, we kind of do. Why me?
Because My answer for the garden update is, I don't know, I'll get to it next year. Yours is probably nicer.
Wow. Next year's tomorrow. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow.
We won't do it tomorrow.
Okay, so garden, as we announced last year, was somebody else's project who left the team and left it on us.
Yeah.
And it's been very hard to, as going through it, more or less Jill realized she was just rebuilding crafting again.
Yeah, it was just crafting with a time delay.
And that's not fun, so we have restructured it from the ground up.
Basically, we restarted gardening. All the items that we had we'll be able to continue using, but Dunn has come up with a new plan. The person who was headlining it just walked, I guess, and by the time we got back around to it, it was already months after when we wanted it out, and we got other projects, so I'm just trying to reprioritize it into my list and not have to rebuild crafting, because the crafting engine is the second most annoying engine in the game.
What's the first one?
The Toko importer.
Okay, yeah, touche.
Followed by crafting, then forms.
Wow, forms has moved up in these days.
Forms is getting more complicated. I used to put, like, breeding and activities in there, but, like, activities is function, don't break what's working, and, secret took breeding, so I really can't count it in my list.
But yeah, gardening is still coming. I think this idea that we have is a little bit more interactive, more unique from crafting.
Yes.
And has some other aspects that will be able to really get that Harvest Moon feel that you all want. I'm sorry, Stardew Valley is the current gen.
Okay. That Harvest Stardew Moon Valley feel that you're all after.
But yeah, still coming, still planned. I guess if we're touching all the things we announced last January, did you know we did a New Year's Day podcast at the start of this year?
I believe that.
I didn't until I went to go make the slideshow for today, and I was like, what did you mean that we started and ended this year on a podcast?
Bookends, man. Just bookend it.
So, Bonding Tier 2 is coming in January.
It
Ruby
is.
has kicked ass at that one.
Mm-hmm.
And the adventure contest is still running, so if you guys have any of those, make sure to get them in, so we can get some Tier 2 adventures. Let's see, so that's bonding and adventures, and as we get Tier 2 bonding and Tier 2 and Tier 3 out, Constellation should start to be back on
the roadmap. Yep.
Yeah.
We needed those bonding levels, and Ree took over getting those with the adventures getting done. And the adventures getting done is why World Tour slowed down.
Yep. Vernma's coming.
It's gonna be cool, I think.
Yeah. We still have the start of an outline over there.
Yeah, the whiteboard. Oh, my whiteboard.
I think Makarok lived on that for a year, and now Vernma's coming up on a year.
Yeah, basically. But I know exactly how it's gonna work. I just have to sit and write the things out.
Well, we had it. I think Eva and Duck have a lot of it.
Oh, did they? Okay, I haven't.
They have a fair chunk. We just need to actually sit down and see where everybody's at.
Okay, perfect.
December, I don't know where it went.
It evaporated. Like, November felt like it took years, and then December evaporated.
Lua called me out on my list being long.
Hey, Lua, you have no idea. Alrighty. Well, is there any other questions? This has already gone longer than I intended it to be, but whatever.
Everyone's making fun of us. I don't see any more questions being typed, but we'll be around as we usually are.
Exactly. Please head to the feedback channels. Let us know how you feel about things. We can't change anything when we don't know. It is kind of a downfall. We see the future. We do not read minds. That's what I tell people at work all the time. I'm software, and in that world, people are like, but it doesn't do what I want it to do. I'm like,
When did you tell me that?
did you tell me that? Well, no. I was like, okay, I don't read minds. I only see the future. Okay. Thanks, everyone. This was a long one. I appreciate your patience. I know everything about Shapeshifter was not exactly as everyone would have wanted it, but it was the best compromise to make the most people happy. Same for a couple of the others. So we appreciate you guys always giving us the trust to make these changes. And if it doesn't work, we'll change it again.
Yep. All of those guides should be popping live over the course of the day as we gear up for open.
The shapeshifter one is done. We just kept it in WIP so that none of you would find it until we were ready to put it up. All right. Bye, all.